Hello. Superwoman, baby. Hello, everybody. Hello. How is everybody? Gonna give some time for people to come in. Ba-da-ba-da-da-da-da. Oh. Okay.
Early in the morning, I put breakfast on your table and make sure that your coffee has its sugar and cream. Your eggs are over easy, your toast and lightning. All that's missing is the morning kiss that used to. Now you say the juice is sour, it used to be so sweet, and I can't help but wonder if you're talking about me. Baby, we don't talk the way we used to talk.
It's my new remix of the song.
So deep. I got my pride, I will not cry, but it's making me weak. I'm only human. I'm not your superwoman. I'm not that kind of girl that you can let down and think that everything's okay. See, baby, I'm only human. I'm not your superwoman. I'm not the kind of girl that you can let down and think that everything's okay. I'm on my way to the shower, trying to make it home just for you. I wanted to make sure that your dinner will be waiting for you. But when you get there, you just tell me you're not hungry at all. You said you'd rather read the paper than you don't want to talk. You like to think that I'm crazy when I say that things change. I'm convinced I know the problem. You don't love me the same. You're just going through the motions and you're not being fair. I got my pride and I will not cry, but I can't help but care. Oh, I'm not no damn superwoman. I'm not your superwoman. I'm not that kind of girl that you can let down. You think that everything's okay. Everything's not okay. I'm not your superwoman. You can't let me down. Let me down.
Oh, you gotta get on Soundcloud to hear the rest. Hey, Android. So, I had this ready, so y'all know that we are discussing the Unseen documentary about Anthony Sowell. If you have not watched it, I'm going to tell you about it anyway, but that is what we are discussing today. Just so y'all know, I have a muffin. Mm. Come on, notes. Word out. Yes. It was rather triggering, baby. It triggered me for so many reasons. The tears, just so much. But yes, how has y'all week been going? How has any good news? Any tired news? What's going on in y'all life? As you come in, make sure you thumbs up and share. Maybe other people want to have a conversation and have some fun with us for an hour or two. We're gonna get started in about 10 minutes, like at 7:15. But we want to just talk and see what's going on with y'all. Kay, I do have you, of course, as a admin. So if you see somebody getting weird or stupid, just kick them out. Mm, I have been binge watching The Last Airbender, the cartoon version, and I've been having a great time getting into that quite late. I didn't, I'm not really a anime person. I think the last anime that I really, really got into and enjoyed was from like the late 80s. It was called Akira, and I really enjoyed that. So I'm not really into cartoons and shit, but this show is really good. I can see why it won like Peabody Awards and all kinds of shit for the writing because they're hitting on some really, you know, global points and um, just some really good things in the show, feminist points, and yeah, it's really, really good. I really enjoy it. Airbender is good. I love it. Um, I started watching Hollywood. I really love that too, but I haven't got around to finishing it. So I haven't finished it. So I don't know how it's ending, but that started off really good. Of course, I think I told y'all last week that I'm watching Miss America, which is good. I think the new episode comes out today, or it came out yesterday or Wednesday. I can't remember. But that, oh, and I've been watching Motherland. Do y'all watch Motherland, Fort Salem on Hulu? Is it Hulu? I know I watch it on Hulu, so it has to be Hulu. Yeah, Fort Salem, it's like these witches. They're like young witches that's in the army, in like a witch army or something. Oh God, that's good too. I really like it. Um, it's a lot of queer folks and it's diverse and yeah. Cheryl Lee Ralph plays the president, and she looks big. Um, yeah, they're doing good too. Fort. It's called Motherland, Fort Salem. Really, really good. I think what else have I been watching? What else have I been watching? What else have I been watching? Um, let me think. I really, that's all I've really been getting into. I think about um I don't know if I showed y'all these. Did I show y'all these books? Oh, these. All right, so I'll show y'all these. So it's like a collection of books. One I'm a part of. Um, and I think I showed that too, but I didn't have all three to show y'all. On my end, I've been working on a photo project focusing on Black trans folks. Been a nice distraction from Rona and her fuck shit. Yeah, Rona's on her fuck shit. But that sounds like a great project. Thank you. I just did a workshop for this organization in Austin. I think it was in Austin. I think it was in Austin. I can't remember exactly. And we did a workshop about including trans narratives in art, in the arts. And I was facilitating it and I kind of broke down, historically how change happens and starts in the arts. And that would have been good to include because I think that when we talk about social movements, arts is the first place, is the first frontier where those social changes and those kind of questioning the status quo kind of pops up in books, in film, in plays, in poetry, and yeah, I think we need to start including some trans narrative in arts. You know. So anyway, this book. This is a not a three-part book, but a three series. So this is called Otherwise Christian, right? Otherwise Christian. This is by a non-binary friend of mine named Chris Page, and it is a guidebook for transgender liberation through like Christianity. So like any kind of pastor or person that's in the Christian faith that wants to be inclusive to the trans community. We're not talking about tolerate them. We're talking about actually um, pull them into the core of Christianity. Everybody knows I'm not a Christian, but I think that Christianity, for some people, can take them to the next level, just like any religion. If it makes you a better human being, I think that that is really, really important. So, therefore, um, um, this is the person who's doing the work to help pastors and things take their situation to take their ministry to the next level when it comes to trans people. And this is their first book. And they did a second one, like a part two of that, Otherwise Christian, um, called The Stories of Resistance, edited by Chris Page. And I am in this one. I am in this one. I have I have a story called my piece is called Womanist. So I'm just giving you the womanist perspective in regards to religion, in regards to no problem. We're not getting started for about 3 minutes. In regards to religion, how I see my transness, how I connect it with um, Black feminism and Black liberation and that kind of deal through scripture and through, what I learned about the Christian faith. Is that a jazz version you did? Yes, of that song. Yes, I have. I'm not finished with it. I'm still mixing it. So, yes, it's a jazz version of Karen White's Superwoman. And last but not least, hey, um, is Jonathan Thunderwood's From Christendom to Freedom, The Journey Making with a Black Trans Elder. This is Jonathan Thunderwood. He is He is a 70-plus-year-old Black trans man, and this is his journey. Um, and he's a theologian, he's a scholar, he's a thinker, he's omni faith, omni spiritual. He, he's just somebody who has been in a lot of faiths and a lot of traditions, and really honest about his experience. And it's just a great story to start. So if you're looking for some trans history, this is a great way to start. So I wanted to share those books with y'all. Otherwise Christian 2, and From Christendom to Freedom by Jonathan Thunderwood. So yes, make sure y'all check them out. They're all on like Amazon, or I know Amazon is kind of problematic, but you can find them other places. I love Patty's version with Dion and Gladys Knight. Yes, I just wanted to do it different. Like I just want when I do, not all the time, but I wanted to do a, a mixtape. Is it a mixtape? I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna be like it's like a mixtape or whatever. I'm doing a mixtape where I am recreating classic songs in revamped ways. I'm doing Aretha Franklin's Not say a little prayer. What is that one? Um, I'm doing a Aretha Franklin song. I'm doing a Karen White song. They're all covers. Um, I'm doing Sarah Vaughan, Misty. Doing. Let me show y'all this one. I'm doing some Shaka Khan songs. Let me see if I can play this one. Is this one?
Through the fire, through the limit, through whatever comes what may. Through the fire, through the limit, through whatever comes what may. Through the fire, through the limit, through whatever comes what may. Through the fire, through the limit.
Let me stop right there. I have a whole like a Shaka Khan medley. It just doesn't sound like I'm trying to make it not sound like the song, but you'll know the song from the lyric. But yeah. It's a Shaka Khan song. It's a Aretha Franklin, Shaka Khan, Karen White. I think that I'm doing a Misty, my version of Misty from Sarah Vaughan. Doing yeah. So if you follow me on SoundCloud, I post all of my music on SoundCloud. There's some stuff that's out now still, so you can listen to that. But that's what's coming next. I'm just thinking about songs, revamping songs that y'all know, classic songs that y'all know. What else? I think I know. Y'all know this?
On a perfect day, yeah, I know that I can count on you. If that's not possible, yeah, tell me, can you weather the storm? When I need somebody who will stand by me.
Y'all know that song. So working on that. That sounds. Bleh. Motherland is my addictive. Motherland is my addiction. It reminds me of Charmed and Sabrina all in one. Interesting. I do like Sabrina. This past season of Sabrina, I can't say that I didn't like it, but it wasn't like the other ones. It's something about this one that was a little different. There was parts that I liked, but it wasn't as spicy as I liked. I didn't see enough Ambrose naked. Nah, I really, really love Prudence. I really love her character, and I love Aunt Zelda. I love the aunties, but I really, really love Aunt Zelda. Um, but yeah, shit, I love. I don't know if Motherland reminds me of Sabrina, but it does. I like anything witchy, so that's me. I like it. All right, let's get started in this conversation. All right, so so if you don't know, if you haven't, just to give you some context of what we're talking about, if you haven't watched it, we kind of watch it before we start talking about it. But it is called the documentary that I'm talking about is called Unseen. It is a documentary about the Anthony Sowell story. He was. Is it safe to call him a serial killer? I'll just. Is that technically right? Is he a serial killer? Does that make him a serial killer? Well, he killed multiple people. Is that I don't know if that's the precise definition of what a serial killer is, but let's say call him a serial killer. So he was a serial killer, and in 1989, he served like 15 years in prison for the rape of a woman named Melvette. And he went to prison in 1989 and was released in 2005. In 2005, he moved to Mount Pleasant. Okay, great. Yeah, so he was a serial killer because if you kill more than two people, more than just two? Okay. I thought it had to be more than that. Okay, but yeah, so he was a serial killer. So when he got out of prison for the rape of a woman named Melvette, I can't remember her last name, but her name was Melvette. Um, he moved to Mount Pleasant, Cleveland. And so when over time, I guess over time, eventually, he started killing people that he was raping. They found 11 bodies in the house. Um, there was some in the house, there was some in the basement, there was some buried in the backyards. And this was like a little town. And it was like over 3 years. And it started, basically when he moved there. And women were just disappearing, and nobody, because this was a hood, crack infested neighborhood, nobody that it's their responsibility to, like police and people, just the law enforcement, they weren't even looking for these women because it was, these women was black. These women were, like crackheads, drug addicts, that kind of, this is that kind of neighborhood where it's predominantly black. And, they were coming up missing and nobody was taking their deaths seriously because these are black drug addicts. So nobody cares about black people, let alone black, especially black drug addicts. So for me, this documentary was really, 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 really triggering for me, but also healing for me in a certain kind of way because okay, first of all, I come from uh, uh, a childhood that was ravaged by addiction, and how it starts off is you're hearing interviews by these ex drug addicts who either survived Anthony Sowell. Um, Well, they all survived Anthony Sowell. They either survived or had some kind of run-in with him that was negative, that where they were attacked or where they were just a survival of an attack of his. And so, because this is in the Midwest, my family is from the Midwest. So the voices of these women sound like my crackhead aunties. They sound like my crackhead mother. They sound like people who I know because I'm from the Midwest. I grew up in Indianapolis. That's like not that far from Cleveland. And how they talk, thing that they said, the inflection and vernacular in their voice reminds me of my Aunt Tang, of my Aunt Sabrina, of my mom, of people who I was so intimately familiar with in regards to how they act, how they dress, how they looked, that it really took me back to that place in my life where my mom was battling her addiction, and they looked familiar, and I empathized with them. And in the process of the storytelling, these women were telling, and also what makes this amazing is that they didn't just go into it, they went into it from the perspective of these women. Like they didn't just start telling you about where is he from, where like what about his childhood. They went into it a little bit later in the middle of the documentary, but they went into it through the women's addiction, which I thought was fucking brilliant. I thought going to the conversation through how did you get to this level of addiction? And for me, as a person, as a child of an addict, I can't always ask my mother things and she give me realistic answers because there's a level of guilt involved in her and her children and a level of shame and guilt. She can't always talk to me openly about how she got into her addiction. She can't always talk to me in detail because it brings up some shame and it brings up some guilt that she's trying to navigate with her child. So she can't always, how do I say this? You can't always just give the real, just the real about the situation. You can't, but like my mother can never tell me how she got on drugs. Like I know how in regards to who got her on drugs and she led to that, but the details of it, because she always goes into, I know I fucked up as a parent. Do you see what I'm saying? Like she's always trying to make up for that. So she never gets to just the two people talking about the situation. So it's hard for me to have those kind of conversations with my mother, so hearing these women share their stories about what led them to drugs, share their stories about how it was almost like some of the stories, it was like, yo, I was a teenager out here doing teenager shit, having fun with my friends. And this addiction was just kind of accidental. It was just kind of, I would get high with a friend in the bathroom at a party that I was at. The friend started supplying me the drugs. I would, I'm just getting high with them. Then it turns into they buying the drug. They were buying the drugs at first. Now I'm buying the drugs myself. And it'll be one time a week when I go to the party. Then it turned to two and 3 times a week. And I'm actually doing the buy-in. Then it turns into, damn, I need the money to get high. And it's multiple times a week. And now I'm randomly selling electronics that I got. It just grows into this addiction that you're not totally conscious of it growing into an addiction. And then one of the girls, she was talking about how, your common sense is gone. Like she was like, oh, this really got me. Ooh. When she was talking about how her family was on the porch, I can't remember her name. Was it LaTanya? Anyway, she was talking about her family was on the porch. She was in the middle of her addiction and they were trying to do like a hood intervention. And she said she had a pocket full of money and all she could think about was getting high. And she couldn't deal with her children confronting her family, her aunts, her family confronting her daughter. And she said her 10-year-old daughter was, when she just left. She just left from the porch. As everybody was on her case, she just left. And she said her 10-year-old daughter was following her down the street and fell in the middle of the street, like crying, like, Mama, what's going on? What is going on? And she was like, I couldn't choose my child over the drugs. Yeah, I think that was Vanessa. I couldn't choose my child over the drugs. And her explaining that, I already had gone through this with my mother, because my mother, for me, was a person who was like she was like the God for me. Like my mother was the black God in my life. And when she got on drugs and I was younger and wasn't mature and hadn't understood, I felt like, how can this amazing, mythical love, this romanticized, I use those words now, but when we talk about motherly love and how we romanticize it, motherly love is supposed to be the strongest love. It's supposed to be nurturing and caring and and just, your mother is going to go over valleys and mountains to get to her child, to take care of her child, and stand up against um, the biggest monster, and stand up against to protect your child. Like this, whatever this romanticized idea that I had about motherly love that was almost flawless and almost inhumane, inhuman. It wasn't it. I thought that motherly love was the unconditional protector, unconditional, the strongest love in the world. So how can the strongest love in the world not be able to conquer addiction? How can you love this drugs so much more than us that you would neglect us? You wouldn't pay your rent. We would be homeless. Your children would be homeless. Your children wouldn't have food. Your children, you wouldn't be taking care of your children. How can your motherly love do that? And so it was a source of anger for me as a child. It was a source of, for me, it was anger. Like I know my brothers, they were a little bit different. Because I was the oldest and I spent the longest time with my non-addict mother. The part of the years where my mother was an addict, that's the part I knew. And so this was such a drastic change. My brothers are a little bit different because like my youngest brother, he doesn't know a life without my mother being an addict. Like she started drugs the year after he was born. And so probably like 6 months after he was born. And so all he knows is the addict mother. So that's me. I don't know that. I know my old school, my old mother. And so how we respond to her is two totally different ways because I just know a different mother. And this is his norm. And it's not my norm. And I didn't understand it. So when Vanessa Gay was sharing that, there was almost like a yoke pierced in me where it confirmed some of the things that I had learned through like my studies in mental health, that this addiction is not about you in regards to, it's not about the child. It's not about her not being able to, or her not loving you more than the drug. This drug is a physical thing. Like it's not just, because initially I'm thinking it's a mental thing because I don't have any experience with drugs like that, like in regards to addiction. And particularly at that time. So I've never been addicted to any kind of drugs. I don't do drugs, but I have smoked before. I was a cigarette smoker. And with but I didn't start smoking until I was smoking cigarettes until I was like 24, 25. And so previously, I hadn't had any experience with addiction. And if you don't have any experience with any kind of addiction, then you won't understand the physicality of addiction. So it's like and of course, like crack or something might be a little bit stronger than cigarettes. I don't really know. But I remember my aunt Tang, she was like, when she holds the crack in her hand, it gives her body a physical reaction. Like she can't hardly wait to go smoke it. Like it'll make her have to use the bathroom. It'll make her have to like the waiting. Like she said, that's why she hates driving to people to go get crack because she only comfortable smoking crack at home. So when I have the crack, I have to drive back to the house, and me having the crack on me while I'm driving back to the house makes me sometimes want to shit on myself because of the anxious. And I was like, damn, that's physical as fuck. But then when I became a smoker and I was trying to stop smoking, I remember my physical body reacting like I was hungry. Like, when you're hungry, how your body reacts when you're hungry. Like your food, like you ain't ate no food. You get headaches, you get irritable, you get, there's a physical reaction that happens to your body when you want something. And so in my mind, it just gave me a little bit more understanding. My experience with smoking and my experience and hearing her and what I hear other people say about addiction is not just a conscious mental choice to be able to just be an addict. it really is a physical thing that your body actually needs at the time until you wean yourself off the drug. It actually is something that you know, part of it you can't control. There's some willpower, but there's also a physical thing that happens to your body that is uncontrollable when it comes to withdrawals, when it comes to what it does to your body and how hard, how difficult it is to stop, regardless of anything else. Just the physicality of a withdrawal is really, really hard. And I didn't really understand that growing up. But as I got older, I understood it. And hearing these women share their experiences about feeling ashamed and feeling, but not being able to do anything about it, and really just kind of working through their addiction, like, well, shit, fuck it. Getting to the stage where I already fucked up, so I might as well just get high and say fuck it. And even the getting high was helping them deal with the shame and deal with, the guilt that comes along with that. So it's like a whole spiral down into the addiction. I feel I just started doing it, all some fuck shit, but then it started to be a part of my own personal self-medication and therapy just to get me through the bullshit that I'm doing to people. I'm stealing, I'm neglecting my kids, I'm stealing out of my mama purse, I'm doing all this kind of crazy shit, and I feel good about it, but I can forget about it when I'm high. So it just turns into this whole fucking bullshit spiral down into that. So they go, as the documentary go on, they start to describe the atmosphere of the neighborhood. So the part that really made me angry is Assad Tayyib. He is the store owner. He is I think he's Arabic. I think he's Arabic. Is he? He may be Middle Eastern. I think he has to be like Middle Eastern. He is, he's like the store owner. He owns the corner store in this black neighborhood, in this hood neighborhood that that was across the street from Anthony Storwell's house where he had killed these women. In the initial interview with him, he was talking about how Anthony, when he first started seeing him in the store, he was like a clean cut, classy guy. But then over time, I guess when he got on crack, because even though the victims were the center, which they should be, he was on crack too. And he, just in the same way that they spiraled down a crackhead hole, he was also too spiraling down a crackhead hole. The murderer. And so they were describing how he started off looking classy, haircuts, and then it fell down. If he fell down, he stopped getting haircuts, he stopped coming in classy, he started looking dirty, started looking like a crackhead. And so he was like, I knew something had changed in him. And he had a level of sympathy in him, I think, because this is just me speculating. You a fucking man and you come from a culture that centers men, and so you can have some sympathy and respect for this nigga. But the women, you don't have no sympathy and respect for. Anyway, and you can tell by how he was talking. And one of the most piercing moments, which people think, but the audacity of him saying it on camera was wildly, like, not shocking I was surprised at that thought process, but shocking that he actually said it on camera. Because most motherfuckers would be like, they say that in the house talk. But he literally said that he wishes it was like 10 more Anthony Sowells, because he cleans up the garbage. Like, you are doing an interview, a documentary of an interview for a documentary about a serial killer who preyed on black women, drug addict black women. You know what you're doing the interview for. You know what has happened in the house. You know, um, at this time that you're doing this interview, you know what he was doing. Cutting up bodies, raping women, 11 of them. And you have the audacity to say that you wish it was more of him so he can clean up the trash. Totally not considering him trash. You're not considering the murderer trash at all. After knowing all that he did. But these women who were the victims, just because they were addicts, they're the garbage, not the murderer. Not the murderer. You want more of them. You want more of the murderer to clean up the garbage. That him saying that out of his mouth, and you can hear when he was about to say it, how he was kind of like, this may sound bad, but I'm just gonna keep it real. Like he was on that type of shit. But this is what I felt like. I felt like he was cleaning up the garbage. Oh, and who is the garbage? Oh, I was so pissed off when he said that. Well, the first time I watched it again earlier today just to refresh my memory. But the first time I watched it, my motherfucking blood was boiling. Oh my God, it was boiling. Like I looked up his name. Like I wanted to I wanted to find him out wherever you work. I want to call your ass out on my social media. I want to cause whatever kind of problems I can cause from the distance that I've had for you. You is not going to sit on this motherfucking documentary and fucking call these women garbage. Child, oh, I was so annoyed. It was so annoying. And especially when they introduced these women through their humanity. As a person, I'm automatically looking at it as these women are my mother. How dare you call my mother garbage? I literally, because they entered the documentary through their narrative and through their humanity, showing how they got into drug. Oh, I was offended, baby. He could have bought me for a wooden nickel, baby. I'm telling you, I was about done. And even there were some things that were annoying me. So there is a son in the documentary named Anthony Dozier. One of the victims was named Crystal Dozier. Dozier or Dozier. Anyway. And how he was talking about his mother, I was totally feeling it. Like I was feeling it because it was my old self. How he was talking about his mother, like, oh, you ain't earned the title of mother. And he kept on calling his mother by her first name. And anybody know from our culture, I don't call my mama by her first name. Like, that's rude. That's disrespectful. That's not cute. And he kept calling his mother Crystal. And even throughout the interview, he kept calling her Crystal, and that was pissing my fucking emotion. I wanted to cuss his ass out too, but I also understood him because we were in the same situation in my feelings when I was a child. But you a grown ass man with kids on this interview, and you ain't worked through that. You still disrespecting your mama and calling her by her maiden name, her first name, and not calling her mama. But you the same motherfucker running around putting up flyers. And for missing person flyers for your mama, respect your motherfucking mama. He was pissing me off too. Not as much as that man, but he was kind of pissing me off too because I remember the feeling, but at his age, I had worked through it. And I know everybody heals and recovers at a different set of time, but him talking about his mother in the way that he was talking to her, especially after she has passed and she has gotten murdered, I would feel like you would have a little bit more sympathy and understanding. But like I said, everybody heals at different spaces. So let me see what y'all talking about. But it did annoy me. Let's see. I got to go back up. I'm sorry. Vanessa Gay, I think that was her name. She made me cry. Yes, absolutely. She was a tearjerker. I think it's the devil's cycle. Extremely hard to break. Yes, absolutely. I'm glad I wanted to talk about this with you all. The whole trial, I think, is on YouTube. Absolutely. He pissed me off. Yes, the store owner called them trash. Yes, piece of shit. Store owner, another example of a foreign entity in the black community and how they exploit the black people. Absolutely, Brandon. You in this fucking community purposely. You know you picked this cheap ass area because it's the hood. You paying next to nothing rent to have a store in this area. You exploiting the poverty and fucking upselling some bullshit ass shit. You know we can go to Walmart and get this shit for super cheap, but because you're a convenience store, you fucking jacking the price up, so you making ton of fucking money in profits, but you don't want to deal with what comes along with the type of neighborhood that you choose to put your business in. And so, he got, now don't get me wrong, he got his brother murdered. His brother got murdered in the store by some people that was robbing him. You get what I'm saying? It's not that he shouldn't have any. I wouldn't have any resentment feelings, but motherfucker, you picked this hood to put your fucking store in, motherfucker. You know, honey, this the hood, bitch. You might get robbed. This is what it is. If you want a fucking store where you say, pick a safe, go to the white people neighborhood or a good black people neighborhood. Good in the sense of where it ain't no crime, low crime, not good. It's in there. They're bad people. But yo, like, you decided to bring your company, you decided to bring your store in this neighborhood. These are the consequences. Sometimes you want to, even that story he was talking about, that little boy was coming to buy some chore boy. Like, anybody who had a crackhead ass mama, you know, you found the little chore boy, the little copper chore boy burn, because that's what they use to put in the crack pipe and smoke the crack, blah 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 blah. So you knew, nigga, you stocking up the chore boy. You stocking up the chore boy. You know they buying it. You know they buying it to smoke the crack. That's why you stocking up on it. That's why it's in your store. Because you know they're going to buy it. When you look at your inventory, you know they buying that motherfucking shit because they crackheads. You know. So you don't mind making money off that motherfucking ass, because you could easily buy some other kind of tool that scrubs. But you specifically buying Chore Boy because you know they're going to buy it because this is a crackhead neighborhood. You're making that decision. So you don't mind getting their fucking money. You don't mind at all. That's why you keep restocking that shit. You don't give a fuck. So acting like you care, you want to clean up the neighborhood. Oh, he was getting rid of the trash. Bitch, you was fucking exploiting the trash. Get your funky ass out of here. This is what that model minority shit, and these motherfuckers, they stay rooted in white supremacy, and they stay with they fucking feet on our fucking necks. So don't get me started on them. Anyway, I'm sorry. We are discussing the documentary. Yes. We are steady talking shit. He was steady talking shit, but they are the same people putting money in his pockets. Absolutely. But they trash. Yeah, he must not be a store owner there anymore. I'm not for sure. I don't know what he did. Let's see. It was a slap in the face, even though as a black person, you know this is how many black people view you. You don't get extended humanity. We're always disposable. Absolutely. If we're not laboring for you, being a consumer for you, slaving through capitalism for you, we have no value. Even like companies that we are predominantly their demographic, it's not until something happens where they have to cater to us as a consumer. You know, some fucked up shit, somebody put out a racist ass product, then they gotta be like, oh, we love our black people. Let's do our diversity and inclusion. Let's do a diversity and inclusion training or a commercial with all black people. And just to make it look like we care about them because they are our demographic, that our customers, so we don't want to lose that money. It's not until something goes wrong that they gotta fucking cater to us. That's how real. It's like it, but it's another thing to hear. Yeah, so hearing it bluntly like that, I knew it, but yeah, it's like, oh, ouch. No one wakes up wanting to be an addict, right? It's a dependency issue. What color is the murderer? He's black. Um, that's that misogynistic bullshit. Absolutely. A black woman didn't kill the store owner's brother. It was a black guy. That's misogynoir. So how easily that's how pervasive misogynoir actually creeps into men. You could be mad at something else, but because it's these black women around here, oh, they are part of the problem too. They're prostituting, they're doing drugs too. And just your hate for women is just going to come out. He still had more respect for Anthony. Than the black women Anthony murdered. Boom. And when we talk about privilege, that nuance, what you just said, Brandon, he had more respect for Anthony than the black women that Anthony murdered. That nuance is what cishet black men, and some just black men, period, not just cishet. There's some queer, misogynistic black men too. That nuance is what black men ignore. Not all of them, but y'all know I don't speak in absolutes. So I shouldn't have to say not all of them. Y'all know I don't think all of them. But in this culture, that nuance to how people think is what black men don't consider. When they don't understand that because they are a man, it gives them a level of leeway. It gives them a level, even within the construct of this system, that the state can murder them. That's what nuance is. Yes, we know that black men are more likely to be murdered than the rest of the demographics. Absolutely. Yes, we know. But there's some nuance to that. There's you gotta murky up them waters, baby. You gotta understand that, there are situations, not all situations. There are situations that the black man, just for being a man, patriarchy is gonna give you some privilege. It's gonna give you some humanity. It's gonna give you a way for somebody to see you as human. Even when we talk about the guy, Ahmad, that got killed by the police recently, the recent case, like a black woman was recently killed as well by police. And we don't hear an outcry. I don't hear her name more often than Ahmad. You know why? Because he's a man. And you're going to always hear black men being put up on this, oh my God, injustice, because there's going to be situations where the black men is like, oh my God, this injustice. And the black women are like, oh my God, this injustice. And the gay black men are going to be like, oh my God, this injustice. The trans women, oh my God, this injustice when it comes to the male, because the women, the queer, the other people are going to relate to that black man just on the strength of our blackness. But there's going to be a sector, not all of them, but a large sector of the black male demographic that is not going to relate to the trans woman being murdered, to the black woman being murdered, to the queer black man being murdered, because of their anti-gay, because they're misogynistic, because of their transphobic conservative beliefs. They cannot relate to those murders, even though those murders was about them being black, about them being black and queer, black and trans, black and woman. Because we can't. What happens to a black woman? What happens to a black person that's a woman is happening to a woman that's a black person, all at the same time. You can't separate the two. This bad thing is happening to me as a black trans woman. It's not just happening to me as a black person. It's not just happening to me as a woman. It's just not happening to me as a trans person. I'm all three of those things. So when something bad happens to me, it's all of those things combined. And so Black men, because they don't relate to those demographics and their actual politics are against those demographics and through misogyny, through patriarchy, through homophobia, through transphobia, I can't relate to that. So it's going to be more often that we relate to him being a victim of injustice than him relating to us. Now, there's some Black men, when we talk about Mark Lamont Hill, when we talk about Ibram X. Kendi, he has a whole book where he talks about stuff. It wasn't about that, but where he mentions it. And different guys who have, who expanded their politics out of those like negative patriarchal standards. They're able to see, but it's a lot of them that's just not able to see. And there's a lot of them that align with conservative beliefs, that align with the right wing. There's a lot of Black people that align with the right wing, not on race issues, but on all the other ones, baby, they right up in there. Anyway, so that was really, really annoying to me. There was an element of the show where they were talking about the church. And there was a pastor of the Mount Pleasant Missionary Baptist Church. I think that's what it was called. And he was talking about how at one point in time, the preacher could walk past and things would stop. If there was some bad stuff happening, it would stop. It would stop and it would continue to go after that. It was some respect to the church. But we know, based off y'all shady dealings, we know based off how y'all engage with community, we know based on how judgmental the church folks can be, people don't feel welcome. People don't feel welcome like they can come get help at a church. They not in this day and age. That the church was a pillar of support in the Black community at one point in time. It was central. But over time, that has failed. That is not, because it has turned into a business. It has become lucrative. It has been, what the Bible say? Money is the root of all, the love of money is the root of all evil. When you start loving money and the business aspect of the church, the freedom of not having to pay taxes, you stop loving the people. You stop loving the God in people. You stop seeing the humanity in people because you're too busy worried about who is paying tithes, who is coming to church every Sunday. You too busy worried about that shit. You're not worried about the humanity of the people and trying to help them out of their situation. So motherfuckers stop respecting you. When you start making rules about, oh, you can't come into the church if you ain't got no girdle on. If I'm feeling disrespected when I come to the church, all that kind of stuff. That you're not going to reach people when I don't feel welcome. When the whole tenet is come as you are. When one of the core tenets of coming to this church is come as you are, and God will accept you as you are. But when I come in this motherfucker, I'm being judged. You can't go out and walk the neighborhood if that's the tone you have in this house of the Lord. Like if that's the tone you have, it don't matter if you come into the neighborhood and put out flyers. I'm not gonna come to this motherfucker and get no help. Because I know all y'all gonna do is judge me. I know. That's it. Fuck that. And so you lose your power. You lose your connection to be able to help people because you squandered it. You squandered that respect because you didn't respect the people. So I thought that was an interesting aspect that the pastor was talking about, and it kind of showed the economic fall of a town or a city where jobs. Vanessa brought up the church while discussing her estate. She mentioned that as she was walking down the street, bloodied and battered, and some of the church folk didn't even pay her no mind. Absolutely, that was a part. Exactly. And she said they even laughed at her. They were even laughing. And she didn't even ain't she the one that didn't file a report? Didn't file a report. Cause she, these motherfuckers don't give a fuck about me. That was the most disgusting part to me of other than that, what the nigga said, what the store dude said, the secondary disgusting part for me is how all these women had either told them or some incident would tip the police off. And because these are throwaway crackhead black women, nobody really looked into it. There's so many people that could have been avoided being killed if motherfuckers would have just looked into it. I come to the conclusion that a lot of churches are not in it to save the souls, as the Bible says. If you truly wanted to save souls, you would accept everyone. Absolutely. Like Jesus. Like that's literally Christ-like. Like that's literally Christ-like. Like I remember being in Sunday school and them talking about how he was hanging with the sinners. Like you got to be in community with the people. Like that's a core tenet of building community. You have to be in the community with the people. Like how are you not engaging directly with the people? Excuse me. That's why. Mm, mm, well, I want to say this. Even that motherfucking Clark sister documentary. Those motherfucking rules, you not letting your daughter come in the house because she ain't got no skirt on. Those little stupid ass rules and the rules of I don't care what those unsaved folk doing at your job. Those type of situations close people off. It makes this group of church folks elite. Oh, we don't need to bring our church to the club. We don't need to bring our church. We don't need to be of the world. You are making a club. You are making a group separate from the world. How am I supposed to, if I need help, think that I can come there? When I'm in my worst, how can I think that that's a safe place for me to be? How? How am I supposed to think that you are going to understand me and give me the tenderness that I need to break these chains if I can't come to you in my chains? I don't understand. That shit don't make sense to me. And and at the same time, you still getting wore out. You still getting judged and wore out and your title stripped because you went to the Grammys. You still getting the brunt of patriarchy. Blue. Crazy. 3 weeks. Allure. 3 weeks. I done got attacked and y'all motherfuckers wait 3 weeks. The fucking rain done washed any kind of evidence. Honey, the squirrels done picked through any kind of proof or anything. Anything could have happened. You ain't found anything that could have happened could have proved something happening was gone after 3 weeks. Child, was over it. Then the Gladys Wade person. Gladys was saying that when he raped her, she did file a report and they let him go and said that it was insufficient evidence. And while they saying this, she literally got scars and cuts and shit on her body from an attack. And she telling you, I was raped by somebody, I know where they at. And y'all like, we got insufficient evidence. How? What more evidence do you need? Child, I was so over it. And she was like, they don't, and Gladys Wade was like, they don't listen to people on drugs. That was a very, very sad part because you knew that was true. So tell me this. This is a part of the discussion that I want y'all to chime in on too. So we know that he did 15 years already for rape. Already from 89 to 05. And then he gets out. He does his time. He pays his dues to society in regards to his crime. And he gets out. And he comes out and do this shit. I am a person that likes to say that I want to be more into restorative justice. I want to be more into, really helping people get free and after they do a crime, after they do some type of traumatizing thing. I want to be the person that says, that's what I want to believe. That's a part of my politics. I want to believe that. I know that is the best way to go. But niggas like this, situations like this make it hard for me to be a bitch that believe in that fully. Because if the structure of the prison is not restoring motherfuckers, is not actively working on that trauma, actively working on whatever trauma he had with his mama that his sister tried to imply. Because even the dude that was in prison with him was like, this nigga said, I don't want these motherfuckers in my business. I don't want to go talk about the trauma and being a sexual predator because I don't want everybody in my business. And so if I got to do my time in the hole just for not doing that kind of work, I'll do my 15 years into that. So literally, he's literally doing his time in the hole because I don't want to work on that shit. So he literally in prison not working on the shit and gets out and do this. And so when we talk about restorative justice and the tenets of that kind of politic, which I want to be, I can see the I can see how it could be beneficial, but it's really hard because I'm like, if the justice system doesn't work to break down this trauma in people who go to jail for rape and sexual assault and child molestation, they get out of jail at some point if you're not working on them, and they probably could be in jail getting re-traumatized. And so I don't know. I wanted to ask y'all, what do y'all feel about restorative justice about people who who have been convicted of rape? Remember, he did 15 years. He did the time. Do we keep niggas in jail for rape for life? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, what is too far? What is too much? What is, is that, I don't know. It's hard for me to navigate that. What I think, because do you feel like people can be rehabilitated? Do you feel like people can learn and heal outside of that behavior? Like, what do y'all think about that? I think that the mindset he had doesn't work with restorative justice. Explain that. What mindset did he have? Because when we think about when I reflect on the mindset of his situation, The sister kind of implied that he had some mama issues, but it was something about the sister that didn't sit well in my spirit. I don't know. It's not what she said, it just was her aura. It just was something about the sister that didn't sit well in my spirit. And oh yes. Okay. I was thinking about just his mindset about like raping. But yeah, if but how would you know that? Like if you're in the prison and you're the prison person, how would you know in the middle of that time? Because if it's just in the report, they labeled it determined as low risk for sexual. What does that word mean? I don't know what that word means. Recidivism. What does that word mean? Let me Google it because that's what I do. Oh, okay. The tendency of convicted criminal to reoffend. I didn't. You taught me a new word, baby. I didn't know that was a word. Recidivism. Yeah. Yes. Truly believe reprobated mind could never do the right thing. But how can you know when the mind is reprobated? That's a church word, so it's hard for me to even fuck with that kind of language in regards to that. But I think I get what you're saying. I truly believe reprobated mind could never do the right thing. Clearly, there was some individual who have no desire to rehabilitation. But how do you respond to that? How do you respond to that? So if I'm a guy at 23 and I rape somebody, how and I get 15, what is a fair amount of time for a rape? 20 years? 25? Like so whatever your fair amount of time for a rape is. So this apparently the judge thought that 15 years for a rape was fair, okay? He got 15 years. If I'm the person who I got this person locked up for 15 years, if he does his 15 years and I think he's not ready to get out, do I keep him there even though he did his 15 years? Like, well, how do you know? How do you reconcile that? How do you fix that? And I'm also one of the people that want to abolish prisons. So how does that fit? Like, how do you know? How do you fix it? How do you a nigga who not ready to rehabilitate? How the fuck you do that? Where I struggle with this is that they came to the determination, but he also refused to do the work to rehabilitate. So how is it appropriate to let him out? But if he does his 15 years, how do you not let him out? Do you after 15 years, like, honey, I did my 15 years in the hole. Cool. You charged me 15 years. How do you not let him out in the way this system is structured? Do you keep them indefinitely? Is that fair? How unfair as a black man? How a black person? How is that going to be manipulated and made people to be kept in jail for longer than they need to be? I don't think they mentioned it in the doc, but he had been raping his 10-year-old or 12-year-old niece for years before he joined the Marines. Oh, I didn't know that. That's a new some new things. Oh, why wouldn't they mention that? Did it come out after the creation of the documentary? Did the niece come out and say it? It's the sister's daughter. It's this daughter of the sister that was in there. I'm surprised she didn't mention it. But it's also, if you remember, was it LaShondra Billups or was it Vanessa? I think Vanessa did it too. I think Vanessa Gay said too. I'll say a sociopath instead of a reprobate. It's very difficult to gauge whether or not a person has truly been rehabilitated. There has to be some type of psychological testing in place to determine. Yeah, but psychology and therapy is rooted in white supremacy. So how can you? I don't know. That's going a whole other deep level. Um, gosh. Anyway, so it happened to LaShondra Billups and Vanessa Gay. If you remember them telling the story, one of them said they were about to get started um and he hit his crack and then turned around and punched her. Like it's almost like he associated, like he added the thrill of getting high with this deviant sociopathic sexuality, these sexual urges. Like he combined the two. Like it started to be me getting high and this sexual rape urge and murderous urge started to be connected. He might have had some mental issues or whatever, of course, not might, but uh and it's even crazy trying to logically think through irrational behavior. But I'm just trying. So, but if you remember, I just remember him saying that, and that kind of triggered something in my mind to think about how he was doing drugs and adding that to this sexual behavior. Like I know some people who not in this dangerous kind of way, but they like to get high. Y'all know I used to be an escort. And so it'd be clients who I only get high when I fuck with trans women. This is a part of that sexuality. So this is what I do for my fun. I'll order me a trans escort or get some hood nigga to bring me some crack or some cocaine. And this is what I do for my fun. I don't do this in my regular life, but for my fun, this is what I do. And so they associated the sexuality with the drugs. With his mommy issue, do you think he had a Madonna whore complex? A lot of serial killers do. Yes, I think so. Oh, Madonna whore complex. So, Madonna whore complex. Okay. Madonna is like not the superstar Madonna, but Madonna like Virgin Mary, Mary. Madonna is another word for the Virgin Mary. That's the pure, good, motherly image of a woman. And then you have the Lilith whore complex of women. So you there's tons of literature around it. But it's like in a patriarchal world, women can live in both of those spaces. Like they can, like I can prop up the motherly thing, but also think that they're whores and disgusting and temptress. That's why we have the story of Eve being the core tenet of Christianity. The woman was a downfall of man, but she also is the person who brought us Jesus, Mary. There's two different Marys. There's the Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother, the Virgin Mother. I didn't even get no dick, and I brought and I brought the King of Kings through my vagina. This immaculate mother figure. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's like and then sometimes dudes who have mommy issues, they also want to break down the power of women through force and rape and all that kind of stuff to um, especially if they had like an overpowering mother. um, this is how they get their power. There's multiple ways that can manifest. Like if they have an overpowering, overbearing, judgmental, bitch ass mother that they couldn't fight back against, like she was abusive, they'll get their power by dehumanizing women through sex, rape, and force, that kind of stuff. There's so many layers to the Madonna whore complex. But it's also tons of literature out there on it. Let me see what else. So then in the I thought that the courtroom scene was crazy when she was crying and just telling and she was telling how just her experience is in the house, like when she was asked to go to the bathroom and she thought she saw, well, she did see the body with the head cut off in the bathroom. He wasn't very smart. Like even when that girl jumped out of the window and they had the recording of him butt naked out there with her, he wasn't very. That's why I think it was about the drugs. Like it was about he was out of his mind when he wanted to be in that space when he got high. You feel what I'm saying? Because I don't think this was some some serial killers are calculated and smart with it. But this dude, she jumping out the window and he coming out the house butt naked with her to get her up, and that was weird as fuck. Like I was like, what? Like it just was wild. Just that smell in the neighborhood, that him putting it in different places in the house, and just him not caring. Some of the things that he did was just stupid. Motherfuckers getting away, police coming asking questions. When she said she saw the decapitated body, baby, I was done. My heart went out to her. How do you keep it together after seeing that? Yes. I was like, what? Yeah. Just the fact that he just had it there. He wasn't very smart. Like it just seemed like he was just like going down. Even when she said she saw his face and she was like his eyes was black. She was like it almost like he's a fucking demon, like a fucking like he gets it, like he get possessed when he gets high, because you can't do this shit. Like you let her go to the bathroom by herself and you got a body in there in the bathtub. Like he had to be high and out of his fucking mind and possessed by some kind of fucking, not necessarily possessed, but like he was down this hole that he associated his drug in the same way that they was, when they were talking about their drug addiction, they were just down a hole that they couldn't control. He just intertwined that spiraling drug addiction into sexual deviant behavior. You feel what I'm saying? It seems like he just was doing stupid shit. How the fuck do you go to sleep with multiple dead bodies near you? Get high again? Get high again? And forget about them? So, So for me, this is a really glaring example of how who we deem to be valuable in the community, who we deem to be unsavory, who we deem to be garbage, as he said, the man said, it's so easy for them to fall prey to people. In the same way, they can fall prey to people who are monetarily trying to exploit them. In the same way, they can fall prey to police brutality and the police trying to exploit them. They can also fall prey to people like Anthony Sowell, extremely dangerous people trying to exploit them and try to harm them and trying to just fuck them over. This is a glaring example and how we don't have the structures to protect these type of Black bodies. Hmm. Yeah, I thought that. Can I go to the bathroom? I'm not gonna tell nobody. You ain't got to worry about me telling nobody. But and even that, you go this far and you let them go, like he let them go. This documentary also made me think about the dichotomy of the drug dealer and the drug addict in the Black community. Woo! Also, the dichotomy of the crack epidemic and the opioid epidemic. Come on now, you better talk about it. Hmm. Because I know how they treated my mom as a crackhead is not how they treating Karen as a opioid pill popping head. They call my mama's house the crack house. They call her house what do they call that white girl? They call a a cocaine condo. That white girl, it wasn't in New York. They got busted with all that cocaine. I don't want to say he wanted to get caught. I just think that he wasn't in his right mind. I just think he wasn't in his right mind. Explain the dichotomy of the drug dealer and the drug addict. In the Black community, the drug dealer is praised, even though they also know that he's harmful, which is wild to me. I always think about that when we think about rappers. The rappers that are that were drug dealers in their day, them hustling, them doing drugs, selling drugs to the community, selling drugs to mothers who got kids, selling drugs and just hustling up. That ain't none of my business. That's it's just a hustle. They praise them as these entrepreneurs hustling to get out the streets and ooh, now they rappers. But when we talk about strippers, we talk about rappers turn from coming from strip game. It's like, oh, all these rappers, all these girls is rapping, and all they do is talking about stripping and da 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 da. And how we looking at them in a negative way, like this is not a hustle, when really they ain't fucking destroying motherfuckers' lives and really, really destroying decades of people's lives. They just getting paid for fucking niggas or dancing for them. And so, not in the same way that drug dealers do to the community. But we don't look, we judge them, but the niggas, we like, ooh, yeah, you hustle. That's a part of the game. That's the dichotomy I see. That's a dichotomy that I think I find interesting. Mm. But I really enjoyed it. I really feel like I really would want to have watched it with my mother. Just really the beginning, not the scary parts, but the traumatic parts, but just really I really want my mom doesn't have Prime, so I'm like, ugh, I want you to watch this. But because I thought that whoever directed it, um, whoever directed it is was brilliant in showing their humanity, and I wanted to see her response to that because I had a visceral response to it. I wanted to see my mom's response to it, um, but it just gave me a little bit more. Not that I didn't think of them as human, but it gave me a little bit more insight on how vulnerable addiction could make them to things, um, and how even the family pushing you away. Yeah, definitely. And how do you come out of that? Lashandra Billups went and got her a degree, and she's working for a nonprofit and whatever. And I'm so that's good. Um, yeah, I'm happy. I don't know if they're all. Oh, you know what else? Like Crystal's mom was also an addict. And when they interviewed Crystal's mom, before they interview her son, they interview her mom, and her mom was also an addict. And it reminded me of my grandmother, who was also an addict. That was wild. That was wild and crazy. That was another element that I was like, whoa, it really is showing you the generation of how drugs kind of just brought this particular city down. And that's literally what you saw in my areas where I grew up. There were certain areas that I lived in that had used to be um like really prominent areas. I remember in Indianapolis there was this area of town called Moselle Sanders. Um, yeah, addiction as a family pathology. Yes, there was an area called Moselle Sanders, and when my grandmother was younger, these were like the bougie condominium apartment complex. Like they were people with money stayed at these apartment complex. But when I was growing up, these was the projects. These was the hood gay, not gay. What I say gay? Ghetto. These are the hood ghetto areas of town, and it always had been. But from my grandmother's generation to mine, in that my grandmother had a child when she was young, and my mama had a child when she was young. So our generations is not that far. She was born in 48. I was born in 81. So our generations is not that far. So in 40 years, you saw a total change in this area of town in regards to drugs and support and churches and everything. I literally have so many areas of town. The place that I lived in, Boston, same exact thing. Places that I lived in, Jackson, Mississippi, same exact thing. It's just totally went down in regards to its level of prestige, and economic standing within the city. Hmm. So I think we talked about it enough. I want to know, what do y'all want to watch next? Do y'all have any ideas? I wanted to watch Amadeus. I don't know why. I love that movie, but I might not do that one. Um, there is a. I want to pick something old. Like, have y'all ever watched Certain Fury? Have y'all ever watched? It's a show. It's a movie called Certain Fury. It has Irene Cara. It's Unseen on Netflix. I don't think Unseen is on Netflix. I think it is on Prime or Amazon. I think it was on Netflix at one point. There is a film called Certain Fury in 1985. It had Tatum O'Neal and Irene Cara. Y'all know Irene Cara. She was the black girl in Fame, Coco in Fame. Um, what a feeling. Please believe that. Hey Ari, um, you can watch it for free on Tubi. I don't know what Tubi is. That YouTube? I'm sure you can find it. It's been out for a while, Brianna. So it's Unseen and it's good. Um, but I was thinking about watching Certain Fury, but I don't know. What any suggestions? Anything y'all have been watching that will be a good discussion? I like black shit with black people. We need to discuss Miss America. It's still going on. I love Little Fires. I don't mind discussing Little Fires. I watched it. I would love to discuss Miss America, but it is still going on, so I didn't want to do episode by episode. I would want to do it as a full project. Little Fires, I have watched Little Fires. I don't mind discussing that one if y'all want to discuss that. Um, what else? I'm just trying to think of something unconventional. Um, are you going to discuss Hollywood and Miss America? I can. I haven't finished either one of them. So when I finish it, we can discuss it. Um, like when the series actually premieres, finale. Um, Little Fires was good. Have you seen the documentary Circus of Books on Netflix? I think I heard about it. Is that the one about the gay porn store? Is that one? Did I already do Little Fires? Maybe I could have. Yes. Yeah, it looked it quite white. The Circus of Book looked it really white, so I kind of skipped it. It seemed like it was gonna be white gays, and skip. So yeah, I didn't really yeah. Now some stuff is just quite interesting. Like I didn't watch Tiger King because that looked like some foolishness, some white foolishness. Um yeah, stuff like that. I'd be like, child, I'm out of here. But I'm trying to think of some white foolishness that I thought was funny. Oh, did y'all watch the documentary of the white guy that met this family? What is it called? And he ended up fucking the mama and the daddy and kidnapping the little girl. and having sex with a little girl. Yeah, okay, yeah. So I think I already discussed little fires in one of my lives. Do y'all remember that? He ended up fucking the mama and the daddy and kidnapping the little brainwashing the little girl. I could it was I watched that and that was some white foolishness. Um so white foolishness, but it was so entertaining, child. What was that called? I don't know what it's called. That was on Netflix. I don't know what it was called. God, what was that called? Basically, he moved into a house. It's not a movie, it's a documentary. It's really happened. So basically, he moves into a house and abducted in plain sight. Yes, that's what it's called. Child. I was sitting there watching that like, it kept getting worse and worse and worse. But what gagged me, the part with the daddy, the part with him having the daddy, like I knew it was coming. Like, no. So in my mind, me and my friend was watching it, and I think my gaydar was going off on the dad, but I was being proud. You know how you be problematic, like, oh, he acting like a punk. But sometimes like white dudes be acting like that. So, but it's kind of problematic for you to think like that. But my gaydar was going off with the dad. And so before the reveal happened, I was like, oh, he probably wanted a ham trade. Baby! And then he did. Baby, me and my gay son Brandon was gagging. That whole show, we were gagging. It was crazy. But yeah, y'all should watch that. I don't know if we should discuss it because it's just pure white foolishness. There was some things that went on in that show that was some pure white foolishness. Foolishness. Pure white foolishness. Let me go ahead and add that to my queue. Yes, add it. Watch that. That's so funny. It's not funny because it's late because a little girl was getting molested, but it just you gonna watch it and be like, what is going on? That he couldn't have did. It's not that he couldn't have did it to a black family. It's just how we are made up and how we respond to shit that couldn't have happened to us. I'm sorry. It couldn't have happened to one of us. That was white foolishness. This is a doc on Hulu called The One is for ladies. This one's for the ladies. I seen that with the strippers, and it's about black male strippers and the black women that create community around them. It was, yeah, I heard it was good. I didn't watch it because male strippers bore me. Yeah, fresh. It was certain things that I'm like, no, that couldn't happen to a black family. Even if you could have tricked one of the parents, both of the black parents thinking that's cool. No, hell no, hell fuck no. It's so many things that happen in that I'm like, only white people, only whites, only the whites. I was gagged. So I'll probably post on my YouTube like I did this time. I'll post a poll for y'all I'll pick 2 or 3. And I'll post a poll for y'all to choose what's going to be on next Friday's agenda. I don't know. There's certain things. There's going to be some unconventional things that I want to watch that that I think have themes that we can discuss. It's not just for the entertainment. It's that has themes that we discuss. Because I'm thinking about Closer. Have y'all ever seen Closer? a film called Closer. If you have seen it, then cool. But there's a film called Closer with Natalie Portman, Jude Law, Julia Roberts, and some actor that I don't remember his name. He's a British actor. But it's called Closer. And I really want to discuss that movie because it's one of my favorite movies of all times. Just about, I love Closer. I love the acting. I love the interaction. I love the storyline. It was quite simple. Clive Owen, yes. I don't know why my brain said Cleve. Cleve Odens. Hey, YB. But yeah, so I'm thinking about Closer and American Beauty. So I want to do both of them, Closer and American Beauty, because the themes in them. Yes. So Closer and American Beauty. But I want y'all to come up with some other stuff. And send it to me on Twitter. Send it to me on my Facebook. If you have Facebook, make sure you go like my page. It is Diamond Styles. Like my page because I'm gonna start going live on Facebook too. Just for different, not like this, but a different reason. Follow me on Twitter, Diamond Styles. Follow me on Instagram, Diamond Styles. All that kind of stuff. And send me if you have suggestions to what we can talk about. Send them to me in that kind of form on Instagram, Twitter, or my Facebook. What else? If you follow the podcast. It is March's Play. This week, yesterday, we talked about the Summer Walker and Nikki Dragon conversation where where somebody has said that the trans aesthetic is is winning right now, and it turned into a cisgender versus transgender thing. We talked about that on the show, so just go check that out. We talked about, do you think it's weird to have your friends get off on your porn? Like if you do porn or have done porn or would do porn or say you did porn, would you think it was weird that your friends got off on your porn? Like your close friends or associate friends. We talked about that, and we talked about what else? I don't know. I can't remember what else. It's a whole hour show. Mirror Mirror on YouTube. What is Mirror Mirror about? So yes, listen to the show if you want to hear our opinions. What else? Yeah, that's it. So yeah, we talk about it on the show. We talked about it before, but we talked about it on the most recent show. So check it out. Make sure you thumbs it up and leave a review. Yeah, so I think that's it, y'all. Make sure that you subscribe. Make sure you thumbs up if you're here watching and you enjoyed the conversation. Thumbs up. Make sure that that's it. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. I will see y'all next Friday. Yeah, that's it. Unless I feel like getting on before that. All right, y'all. Bye-bye.